What's going on, guys? This is Roelly Winklaar with Bodybuilding.News. Today we are covering the Nordic Pro held in Finland. This contest was won for the second time by Bonac, who came in after winning just last week in Prague and was able to take home another title. This was an expected win for Bonac, as he was coming off of a huge win last week in Prague over many top 10 Olympia type guys. The difference between these contests has to be the lineup, however, as this one was scarce compared to what we saw last week. Coming in second place was Lukas Osladil, who was barely able to qualify for last year's Olympia, and behind him the caliber of competitor vastly dropped off. While there were some surprises in the form of disappointment, such as Brad Rowe's lack of a placing, many guys got a mix and look that they wouldn't normally get in a more dense lineup. This gave a lot of guys that haven't been finishing too great a real opportunity to shine here at this contest and maybe gain a little bit of notoriety going forward. In first place, Bonac. Bonac looked amazing as always. While these guys did bring conditioning that would push Bonac, he brought his conditioning as well as the awesome structural advantages that these other guys just don't have. And he really shined in a contest like this where he didn't have guys to really push him. Powerful, most muscular, powerful back double bicep. Bonac has that combination of both aesthetic and mass, or the appearance of mass, that he deservedly won this show and was expected to after his prior showings. In second place, Lukas Osladil. Lukas Osladil is a former 212 champion who moved into the Open and was able to qualify for this year's Olympia by winning last year at the Phoenix Europa post-Olympia. Many aren't too aware of him because he has kind of a checkered past involving some videos that he shot, as well as just being a smaller guy because he's in the 212. However, he has a great physique and always brings signature condition. Striated glutes, insane hamstrings, and the ability to do pose and present in a way that a lot of these guys can't. He brings a lot to the table, and this second place finish was very deserved. In third place, Petar Klancir. Already bald, Petar is a fairly young competitor who barely turned pro by winning one of the amateur Olympias, and he represented himself very well at this contest. Although he didn't bring anything too different from what we'd seen in him at other contests earlier this year, because of the sparse lineup we saw here in Finland, he was really able to shine. Coming with awesome condition, it's really just some structural flaws and disproportionalities in his physique that are going to limit him from continually being in this higher tier of placings. But being so young, we can assume that he hasn't reached all his potential yet. And if this is any indication going forward, he has a lot of positive momentum headed his way. However, this could just as easily be a flash in the pan, as these opportunities with these limited lineups aren't going to be coming around very often. There's not any huge knocks on this guy's physique. He brings the condition, and the variables that he has under his control are in check. He maybe needs a little bit more aesthetic and pop to the muscle, but that might be genetic limitations, if anything, not necessarily something we can blame him for. Either way, he looked great here and finally got a placing. In fourth place, Czechoslovakian bodybuilder Tomas Kaspar. Tomas, another European bodybuilder who probably got a little bit of favoritism at this contest, was able to get a top 5 finish. This is after he's had relatively disappointing placings at similar contests. This is another guy without much pop or anything that really makes his physique stand out. He looks good because he brings condition, he does have mass, etc. He just kind of lacks an X factor of sort. Not that he doesn't have a good frame, etc., but in that there's a variable just kind of missing that fans of the sport can understand and appreciate. He did hold his own in that first call out with some of the top guys, but is this going to continue at other contests that aren't so small and don't have this type of national favoritism? I don't know. In fifth place, try saying that one 2 times fast. Or short Abdel. Though Abdel looked great at this contest, and this is possibly the best we've seen him look as a professional, it was still kind of a coincidental placing due to the lackluster lineup we saw in Finland. As a former amateur Olympia winner, Abdel hasn't had much time to shine, as he's been thrown into the professional ranks, competing at some of the most dense competitions. So this was a nice break of sorts, an opportunity for him to shine, similar to some of these other guys that don't always get the look they maybe deserve. Though not European per se, he is an international guy and maybe gets more of a fair shake at this type of contest than he does at other American-based ones. Not to mention, it's rough starting your career on the Olympia stage, which he qualified for by turning professional in an amateur Olympia event. So it was nice to see him in a more comparable and competitive competitive lineup for him and demonstrate that he still might have a positive future in the professional ranks of bodybuilding. Notable guy to fall out of the top 5 at this contest, Brad Rowe. Brad jumped into this show last minute, and assuming his condition was on point, etc., even a slightly off Brad, still a really great looking bodybuilder. So it was interesting to see him fall out of that top 5 spot. Though Brad has a lot of positive attributes to his physique, such as great quads, good waistline under control, popping arms, etc., he might be lacking a little bit of the X factor that brings him to that next tier. And he got slightly overlooked at this contest by other kind of generic looking white guys that also happen to bring their best condition possible. If this was, say, a Europa type contest in the US with the US judges, it's very likely Brad could have just as easily ended up in that top 5 spot. However, that wasn't the case in Finland. With Brad out of the top 5, no Americans were placed at this contest.
USA! 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 USA!
And guys like Bonac, even though they aren't European, often get a lot of European bias in their favor. And is this completely unfair? Not necessarily. We get an outside perspective of what people value in the sport of bodybuilding and why. And maybe we do have a little bit of American bias at these American-based contests. So it's nice to mix things up a bit. However, I wouldn't take these as huge indications going forward. Guys like Osladil, who was able to place top 6 in Prague, which was much more competitive, okay, he will continue to be able to place at these types of contests. But the guys behind him from 3rd through 5th fall off very dramatically and will likely have a hard time placing regularly if they bring the same package to similar type caliber shows, but not with the European bias. So that's it for today, guys. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. We have more contest reviews such as this, as well as random bodybuilding topics. I'm Roelly Martin with Bodybuilding.News. Out.
Grab him by the pussy. I can do anything.